You have stopped working for a boss, started your own company, worked for a boss again for a while, and then started your own company again. Looking back, would you do it all over again?
I would probably do it a lot sooner.
Welcome to another edition of Expedition Business, where we talk to inspiring South African entrepreneurs about the highs and lows of their business journey and how on earth they manage to keep the flame of business adventure burning. Because facing your day with a smile is sometimes the toughest thing you have to do. My name is Christelle Rossouw, your host and the one privileged enough to be talking to Adriaan Rossouw from NuEco Solar. But before I introduce Adriaan to you, I would like to remind you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this podcast with as many of your friends and family as possible. Without your help, we cannot continue to share the amazing stories of our South African entrepreneurs. But back to why we are here today. Adriaan Rossouw is what I would typically describe as a salt-of-the-earth entrepreneur. He started his career as an extraction metallurgist, but pivoted to entrepreneurship in the mid-2000s. And yes, he has got lots of stories of entrepreneurial failures and rebirths. He does not dream of fame and fortune, but God's peace, love and happiness as his number one intrinsic goal. What I find fascinating about Adriaan is his complete honesty about his failures, about what he should have done differently, and in the end, his modesty about his long list of successes. Adriaan, welcome to Expedition Business.
Thank you for having me.
It is a massive privilege, and I was trying to think earlier today, how long have we known each other? How long have we been working together? It feels like forever.
Yeah, I think we met when I started teaching or educating your child at church when he was just an 8-year-old. So I can't remember if it was prior to that, but I think it was definitely around about that time.
I think that was around about 2009.
It sounds about right, yeah.
Remember correct. But since then, a lot has happened. You have stopped working for a boss, started your own company, worked for a boss again for a while, and then started your own company again. Looking back, would you do it all over again?
I would probably do it a lot sooner. You know, if you grow up in a small mining village, all you know is you work for the mine, and you work for a boss, and you get a salary, and you make debt because you need to have a credit score, and you're going to have a 3-liter Ford Cortina or something in the likes, then you're a made man. And that's what you grow up with. And to get rid of that mentality or that mindset, it takes a while for you. But I've been fortunate enough to marry someone that brings out the best. And I've told many people in the past that without my wife, I would not have been where I am today. Purely, and not that she's vocal, and actually she's very non-vocal. She just supports and encourages and say, whatever you want to do, go for it. And that's the part. So yeah, stopped working for a boss. And the reason I stopped working actually is my kids. Both my kids are very, very sporty. And I wanted to spend some time next to the cricket field, next to the rugby field, next to the athletics field. And without having to ask and beg and plead for time off, which I worked in any case too much of, but I tend to forget that. And I just said enough is enough. So I'd sacrifice some money, and then I would have spare time. So that's where the first one came about. That wasn't a success, but lessons learned from some failures. And I'm not the first entrepreneur to have failed and tried again. I think that's the golden thread.
I have something to say there. I think you are the first male to admit that he has failed. Normally, that's not something men do.
Yeah, and not once. Not definitely not once. A good couple of times. I tell my sisters, my kids, you know my story. I've been adopted and whatnot. So my wife married a husband with one father-in-law and one mother-in-law, and she gained 4 more. So I don't think she got the best deal out of it. But when you look back at your folks, there's things that you learn from them. And not all of it is things that you do. Some of it is things that you should not do. And therein is the learning curve. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's not about success. I think you learn a lot more from failing at something than what you succeed. So those failures, okay, this is not how you do it. And then we do something else. And I think all the big oaks in the past, the common thread there is, I went to 400 banks before somebody approved me. I went and I did this and this and this. Edison had 500 patents or whatever the case may be. So they tried and failed. But somewhere there is the way to do it properly.
Mm-hmm. I quickly want to get back to where you said you started your own company because you wanted to have more time to yourself without asking a boss for permission.
Yes.
How much extra time does one have as an entrepreneur as opposed to working for a boss?
I think listen, in ideal world, you work for yourself, you've got plenty of time. But that's being young and naive. You don't have more time when you work for yourself. But what you do have is control over that time. So if I don't work between 2 and 5 this afternoon, I can work between 5 and 10 this evening. Mm-hmm. I don't have to work 9 to 5. And I think that is the slight difference. You're not going to work less hours. Definitely not.
Probably more.
Not probably. Definitely more. It's not a if. You're definitely working more hours. But it's for you. And it's for your family. And it's for your kids. And it's for helping other people. Because remember, it's not just all about you. It's about other people as well.
Just want to quickly get back to what you're doing right now, because obviously we know very well what you do. We've been helping you with your marketing for some time now. But I sort of felt in preparation for our conversation today that I couldn't give a real perspective of what you do. So I got AI's help to see what the internet believes Adriaan does. And I was actually quite amazed at how correct they are. So please forgive me. AI and Perplexity specifically reckons Adriaan Rossouw is a prominent figure in the solar energy sector, currently serving as the director at NuEco Solar, a company based in Gauteng, South Africa. He has held this position since March 2020, contributing to the company's mission of providing premium solar products and exceptional service to its customers. Under his leadership, NuEco Solar focuses on delivering sustainable energy solutions, emphasizing the durability and reliability of his solar systems, which are designed to last for over 20 years. What do you think of that?
It's humbling to hear what not a person says, but artificial intelligence says, which means it's gathering a lot of information from wherever in the net and putting that together. So very, very humbling. Nice to hear. I mean, I would like every man wants his ego stroked as well every now and again. But so nice to hear, but very humbling as well, because it means that it's big shoes to keep on filling and to keep there and keep it hard work, because you're only as good as your last solar system, only as good as your last conversation, only as good as the last thing you did. People will remember for the bad things, not for the good things you've done.
That is so true. They do remember you for the bad things. But speaking of the good things, while we are talking here, our electricity is provided thanks to NuEco Solar. And something that I appreciate is that every time I have a query, it is never an issue to get hold of you. How do you manage it in between everything else that you do?
Remember I said to you, I've got a very understanding wife. And that's part of that. She could have said, listen, it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, switch the phone off, it's now family time. She doesn't, because she knows that's what I signed up for. But it's got, and I don't know if it's relevant, and I don't want to bore the listeners with all the information, but it's also historic. I worked in the mining industry for a long, long time, and specifically here in the Joburg area. So most of these dumps and things that were here in the south of Joburg, most of that gold actually went through my hands. Yeah, and to get that material into the plants, they worked obviously 24 hours a day. And all the people on the different sites had two-way radios. And I was centrally located in Elandspark, which is in the south of Joburg. And with my two-way radio, I had contact with most of the sites. So I would keep my radio on 24 hours a day. I could hear what happened on site. So very little sleep. But from there it grew that I'm so used to being awake, being ready, being available for whenever. So I just carried it here. And I believe that when somebody puts in a solar system, it's electricity. We taking the place of Eskom now. And somebody needs electricity, whether it's to feed the baby, to heat the water bottle, to have their TV on to watch their best soapy, or their whatever the case may be, to water their plants, or just have light, or security, having a camera or a beam that's working. They need that. And they can't just reach you within normal hours. You need to be available for that. And that's what you sign up for. And if you don't sign up for that, get out of the industry. Because then it's not for you. You need to provide that service. And that service, unfortunately, is 24/7, 365. I was lucky enough, my oldest son is in the UK, and I've been lucky enough to go and visit him. But even then, my clients get a hold of me there, and I answer their calls from there, and I work from there, because that's what we've signed up for.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. But just something that I quickly want to interject with. Obviously, the solar or provision of solar is not just to provide electricity when there's load shedding and everything else. It's also to help me save on my electricity bill.
100% correct. When the system or the industry was in a boom, remember we started with solar geysers. And the government paid as an incentive, a rebate, to put in solar geysers to take load off the grid. So that's where this whole industry started. And then obviously with load shedding and PV became more and more available and necessary. But then it was A, for convenience, because people work from home, people needed that, they needed security and whatnot. And the stuff was still expensive. In the last, I want to say 12 months or so, pricing has come down dramatically. And electricity cost has gone up. So now if you take that graph and you compare the two against each other, where they break even, it's anywhere from 36 months to about 48 months on a solar system. And that used to be about 8.5, 9 years in the beginning. So it's half that and less. So it's no longer a case of convenience. It's now a case of investment. So your ROI, your return on your investments, now becomes reality. It's no longer a grudge purchase. It's something that you almost must do. If you've got small kids and you invest this money now, that money will put your kids through university. Believe me, I've got 2 that went through university, and my solar system, be it solar geysers or be it my PV system, has put my kids through university. My last one is still there. And it's because I don't pay my 4.5 grand every month towards Eskom that I can pay for that. Now, you factor that in over 20 years, 30 years, you take that money and put it into a bank or into an RO and into a retirement annuity. It becomes a figure that's just mind-boggling. It just makes absolute financial sense.
Best investment to do.
100%.
Very good to remember, because we've, from load shedding days, we think that it's only there to provide electricity when Eskom can't provide electricity, but it's much more. I think the investment part is becoming much more important as we go along.
100%. I don't think, we haven't had load shedding for a while. So it's definitely the investment part that's kicking in. And for the older people, now I spoke about the younger generation and putting kids through university and whatnot. But for the older generation, your pension will be X. Once you stop working, that does not grow anymore. But Eskom and your bills are not going to get lighter. So there's a buzzword in the industry, you've got to pension-proof yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And putting in a solar system is part of that pensioning proof. You'll find a lot of people closer to retirement will go and buy a new car so that they don't have to have a new car or a car payment, when they're on pension. Solar is the same. If you do it now, you don't have a monthly electricity cost, or very little, almost negligible. As I'm sitting here, mine is less than 200 Rand a month. And it's been like that for 18 months. So it's not like it's for a month or for a two-day period or a 1 week period. Consistently over the last 12 months, 18 months, my bill has been less than 200 Rand.
Absolutely insane. Adriaan, when it comes to business, and you sort of touched on it already, what makes you feel on top of the world?
If you're in the sales game, sales is a drug. Any guy that's really sales driven will tell you that call that you get from the client or that WhatsApp from the client with the proof of payment, or listen, I'm going with you, and that's a drug. That's a high that you cannot explain, and we live for it. Unfortunately, it's short-lived, because once that's done, the paperwork start, the hard work start, and you got to move on to the next one. But that's nice. But more than that, it's the people I meet. When I was in the mining industry, and I still miss that mining industry, I still miss that smell. That smell on a gold mine is just something different. I just love it. And some people think I'm mad. I love it, and I still miss it to this day. But in the solar game, you meet people. I've been in houses where the paintings, the house design itself, the motor cars, the garden, the dogs, the kids, the family, they become family. And that just makes everything worth it. I've got still people now and say, how's your father doing? How's your mom doing? And those are clients. Then you know you've done something right if you become like a family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just thinking of all the people who want to give testimonials on all the amazing work that you've done for them. It's testimony to all the friends that you have made over the time. But obviously, nothing is ever perfect. So what would be your major challenges that you have to face?
A couple of months ago, maybe about 18 months, 2 years ago, stock was obviously an issue because just the boom in the marketplace. And then it's managing those expectations of your clients. But honesty is always the best recipe. Once you always speak the truth, you don't have to remember what you spoke. The truth is the truth. End of story. So it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge if a client has got a problem to manage that, especially after hours, because sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, rather than just give them advice. If you can send out a team, you send out a team. So that is a challenge for sure. Currently, the market is slow, and that's a challenge by itself. Yeah, there's a lot of solar guys now that if you look at the industry, that's getting out of the industry. But it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The industry needs people that are long-term in this game and not there for a quick buck. And I believe that the industry was there for a quick buck. It was a get-rich-quick scheme, almost like a pyramid scheme. Let's get in this, let's get a quick buck. And let's take as much as we can and move on. And I hear that on a daily basis. So that's a challenge. I wouldn't say my existing clients, because they know me, they know us, they know where to get us. Incidentally, they've got a WhatsApp group, and Christelle, you will testify to this. We've got a WhatsApp group for all our clients. So if they want us, they can get hold of us in one go. So there's 4 or 5 of us reached in one time. You don't have to call around and be shifted around. But my challenge at this stage, currently, is managing the expectations of clients that did not buy from me, but now got a problem. Because now they start doing their homework and say, oh, let me go and speak to Adriaan. Adriaan is being referred. Adriaan is the guy that I must speak to. And now they call me and say, I've got a problem. Do you mind helping me? And now that's a challenge. Now it sounds crazy, but do I help or do I turn away? Because in most cases, you're just creating a hiding for yourself. Because it's somebody else's problem. Somebody else that did something probably not correct. And you're going to give this client bad news. And I don't charge for this service. I will go out to a client and go and look at his application and not charge him a cent. So it becomes a liability for me. But at the same time, it's not all about money. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes just about doing the right thing.
But just getting back to people that didn't buy from you, obviously there's different systems in the marketplace, and you only work on 2 specific systems.
Correct.
And if you are outside that system, it's very difficult to do anything about it.
It's extremely difficult. I still go, although I know 70%, 80% of the time I'm going to a site, it's typically not going to be a battery or inverter that I work with and I've got any integral knowledge of. But I still go. Because there's certain basics. Is the fusing right? Is the wiring right? Is the earthing right? Is all of that done? So that's basics. When it comes to the management of it, then if we can help. And we know a lot more systems than just the 2 that we install. So if we can help, we will help. But yeah, it's you asked me about my challenges. That's definitely one of my challenges is to manage those clients. Because they want help, and it's very difficult to give them the help that they want and deserve.
But maybe you should charge for the service.
I don't know. I feel bad charging people. They typically they've been done in already. To make matters worse, I think I've got a better chance of getting a referral from them, telling friends of theirs around the braai that rather use this guy than the guy I've used. And that's business by itself. So my game, you do my marketing. My game is referrals. People telling people. And then it's not all about money. You've got to help people. And that's what we try and do. And installing a system is helping them, for sure. It's not just about giving them advice. Installing system is definitely helping them. And they tell you that every day.
Which is one of your big delights.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think you get anything better than a client raving about your service.
It's nice to hear. And that's why this AI testimonial was so nice, is to hear that. It means that you've done something right. Not all the time. We all make mistakes and we all and I do fail. But luckily I work hard at those. And I'm calm. I normally don't get agitated very quickly.
Very, very interesting to hear. I must still meet the guy who admits he does lose his temper. But yeah, I've known you for some time. I think I can go with that is the honest truth.
I do. I will go out with all intentions that I'm not going to lose my temper. And then very soon on the highway, it'll go south. So, but I do try. I do try.
Oh, Shane. Speaking of you trying to be a good guy, one of the things as I was trying to think of what would be a typical word to describe you with or a phrase to describe you with, something that kept on coming up in my mind was salt of the earth. And then I went to Google it. And it was quite interesting what Google reckons is the definition of salt of the earth person. preserve, enhance, and improve the world with God's love and values. How amazing is that?
Wow.
And that sort of brings me back to the whole story of where we've met. And the whole notion that as an entrepreneur, you do have more time. My question that I have for you is, traditionally, it seems that when it comes to community services, whether it's at school, at church, bike clubs, which you're also involved in, which we still need to talk about, a large percentage of these people are normally entrepreneurs, as opposed to people that work from 8 to 5 every day. Or do you think I have it wrong?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back at the days that I was on school governing bodies and whatnot. And you're probably right. You'll find that the people that are on there is entrepreneurs and working for themselves. Because what I said earlier, you can just manage your time a bit better. You've got the freedom to do that. And it's typically the parents who's got kids that's also involved at school. It's kids that is a good rugby player or a good academic or a good debater or a good chess player or whatever the case may be. And that's typically where you will find the parents as well, because they support there and then they get involved in the school and the school activities and do that. And from there, the cricket clubs, the churches, because you're involved in your school, in your kids' after hours activities. Because it's not just about going to school and coming home and sitting in front of a square box and have square eyes, because I believe that's the one thing that's not right in our society currently. There's too many square applications that kids are exposed to. They should be exposed to grass and sand on their bare feet and eating that dirt and growing up and hanging from trees. Somebody asked me last week, when last did you see a kid with a broken arm? I can't.
Interesting.
And in my day, that was common. You went to school, there was somebody with a broken arm. It's not. They don't fall out of trees anymore because they don't climb trees. And kids should just be kids again. And I'm digressing, but that's where you will find the parents, is that those kids are active everywhere. You find the same parents. Monkey see, monkey do.
Absolutely. But it's quite an interesting observation that you've made with a broken arm. And yeah, it would actually be quite nice to research the stats on that.
Yeah, I think the stats will show that there's although there's more kids, I think the stats will show that there's less broken arms. Because you don't break your arm from pushing a button.
No, not really, eh? Just quickly, we've mentioned the bike club. You bought yourself a bike some time ago.
I've always had a bike, even at school. That was my transport to school and back. And then after school, bought a bike. My wife actually met me only owning a bike. I did not have a car.
Okay.
So when she met my folks for the first time, it was on the back of a motorbike. 300 kilometers, and she's not been on a bike prior to that. So first time getting on the bike, she traveled 300 k's to go and meet my parents.
Ish.
Yeah. And she's still married with me. So says something about
Very much.
Rihanna for being a vastbyter in Afrikaans. Yeah, so we had various bikes, and then 5.5 years ago, we bought a Honda Goldwing. And now we're part of a club that just rides Goldwings. We've just recently been to Garib Dam, where there was more than 40 Goldwings together. And once again, getting involved and sticking my nose in everything. I was the national treasurer. I also was the road captain for the central chapter. And the newly elected, so I've had to vacate those posts, but I'm the newly elected chairman of the central chapter, yeah.
Insane. But just please explain to me, central chapter of what?
The Wing Riders, and that's what we call ourselves, Wing Riders South Africa, is composed of 3 groups. So there's a central chapter, which is the old Transvaal area, if I can call it that. So Northwest Pretoria, Delmas, Mpumalanga, that area. And then Western Cape, and then Garden Route. So those are the 3 chapters that we've got. And then Central, I'm the chairman of Central, so Western Cape will have a chairman, Garden Route will have a chairman, and then the 3 together form a national committee as well. And I was always on the national committee, but now as chairman of Central, I'm by default on the national committee as well. It's management. It's all it is.
Is it possible for you not to get involved in the management of anything that you get involved in?
Probably not. I cannot just sit there in the dark in the corner and do nothing. It's not within my nature. No. My daughter-in-law in the UK, one of her friends asked her one day about me. And she said, no, he cannot sit still. And her dad himself cannot sit still. And she said, like your dad? She says, no, next level. So, no, I cannot sit still. And that's why I'm on my phone always. Because I cannot sit and just stare into the abyss and not do anything. I've got to do something.
But luckily, you've got an amazing Rihanna waiting patiently at home.
Yeah.
And still thinking you're the best thing since sliced bread.
I think so.
Well, maybe we should get Rihanna for a conversation.
Get her to answer those questions.
That would be interesting. But yeah, I think from what I know from Rihanna, it is probably true. But something else that I'd like to get to, and you sort of answered it already, but what would be the fun and exciting ways that you use to regroup, refocus, and re-energize yourself after a bad day, a bad week, bad month?
Obviously, getting onto the bike helps clear the mind, and it gives you something else to do. At the same time, the church. But lately, I've discovered another trick. And it's actually amazing how simple it is. When you get to my age, I don't want to say our age.
I'm very proud of my age.
When you get to my age, you don't sleep well. It's just par for the course. And lately what I've been doing is every time I'm awake at night, I start praying. And it's amazing what calmness comes over you and how quickly you fall back to sleep. And doing that over an extended period of time, how longer the intervals become between waking up and sleeping and waking up and sleeping. So I've been getting good night's sleep just by following that simple advice. And it gives you something to do in any case. And it's quality time spent.
Okay.
So
definitely very, very good advice. And sometimes we forget it. It sounds simple, but yeah, we tend to forget it.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And then one thing I also did, I don't want to, digress, is I'm a bad reader. I've always been, and I don't think it'll get better. But I'm a very good phone watcher. And I was speaking about the square things. Mm-hmm. So I've downloaded a couple of Bible apps on the phone. So now I've got the phone. And I've got the Bible at close hand. And that seems to work as well, rather than carrying a Bible around and do some reading with that. So the fact that it's on there, and there's a whole host of plans that you can follow for 10,000 things, that made a change as well. It just brings calmness to know that someone higher than us is in control. And we just need to focus on today. Tomorrow will sort itself. You just focus about today, and then tonight and tomorrow morning, thank you for being alive, and let's carry on.
Definitely very, very true, and something that we have to remember. But you've also been a runner for quite some time. You've done comrades. What happened to your running?
Good question. I've committed to something. So in 20 2027 is the 100th Comrades. And I've committed to running that with my younger son. And he's keeping his dad to that promise. So, and I need to start training very soon to be able to do that, because you're not going to, at my age, rock up 3 months beforehand and say, here I am going to run the Comrades. It's not happening. So I will be running it again, not next year, but maybe 2026 as a trial and see how it goes, but 2027 for sure. And yes, I've run 3, started 3, finished 3. My best, I've never had a great Comrades, but my best marathon was a 3:38.
Insane.
Yeah, it's not as quick as the front runners. I mean, they are very, very quick. I'm not in that league, but I think a 3:38 is a decent time.
It is very decent for an amateur. But yeah, maybe you should join us for our Adventures Business Clubs at Hikes. That is coming up. And we are also planning trail runs and trail run expeditions for the future. So,
what's
something
the space
to keep in mind. So, if you could be 20 years old again and you could change anything, what would it be?
Wow. That's a deep question. Listen, I've had a great life. I'm not sure I would have changed. I would have definitely not married a different person. I would not have wanted different kids. I don't think I would have maybe started my own business earlier. I don't know. For me, it's it's been a great journey up to now, and things work out the way they should be working out. I suppose in hindsight, an ideal world, we can say, no, 20 years old, I should have started my own company already then and worked on it. But I would have never met, or my wife would have never had, my kids would have never. And those are too many things I don't want to see. So I would have probably done the same thing again.
That is very, very good to know.
Apart from one thing, debt.
Okay.
We're being taught to make debt. I think that's a cycle that needs to be broken. Nobody says you must have debt. Nobody says that you can buy a house only if you've got a good credit record. No. Start saving. Because when you get financially independent, it's then that the whole world opens up to you.
And that is something our children should learn.
100%. It should be a subject at school, and it's not.
But isn't it something parents should teach their children, as opposed to waiting for a teacher to do the job?
Hopefully, but I think most of the parents, unfortunately, in that rut where they are caught up by debt themselves. That's why these micro lenders and debt counselors is popping up everywhere. It's because there's a crisis, I want to call it, with debt in South Africa. It's too easy. It's worse than COVID.
Adriaan, speaking of lessons and lessons for our children, what advice would you give our generation of tomorrow, our next level entrepreneurs?
Can I, by virtue of 2 things, answer you? At my dad's funeral, when I did the thank yous, in the background there was a slideshow like they do nowadays, with photos of my dad. And there was my dad with a motorbike, with a car, with a boat, with an aeroplane at his game farm. And my message to the people in the church was, he's lived his life. Look at the photos. Can we say the same of you when it's your time? That you've lived a life. Because just merely existing, that's not what you were here for. So may we also stand here when it's your turn, that we can say you've lived your life. And then the second thing is, there's a big debate about tombstones and being cremated and whatnot. So my kids will tell you that I told them, cremate me and throw my ashes in the Free State, anywhere in the Free State, as long as it's in the Free State, because that's where I grew up. But don't do a headstone where it says, here lies, and listen, each to his own. Here lies so-and-so, and he's been wonderful and great and whatnot. Once I'm dead, I've lived my life. I can no longer make a mark. I need to make a mark whilst I'm here. And my kids and my family and my friends and my colleagues need to remember me for what I've done. Not from a headstone or... So then its time is gone. If you don't have those memories, if your family and your friends don't have those memories where you've left those prints on there, it's too late, you've missed your mark.
But you're still some time away from that decision that your kids have to make. Hopefully.
100%. Well, we don't know. God has got his own plans, but hopefully.
In terms of a future, what would be your goals for your business going forward?
I'd like to grow this business obviously much bigger than what it currently is, and be a leader in the industry and set standards when it comes to service delivery. At the same time, I'd like to empower other individuals to do exactly that, and to get better and to just empower them, because if we empower other people, they can help other people, and that's what we should be doing is exactly that. We should be helping people. Teach a man to fish, you never have to feed him again, and I think that if I can leave that behind, and my kids are doing their own thing, they won't be doing solar, they won't be taking over the business. So I would like to hand this business over, not sell it, hand this business over to someone that can just take it to new heights. But that's a good couple of years ago, but that's the plan, is to hand it over to someone that can take it bigger and better. But by then, I wanted to be a substantial leader in the industry.
Okay, so you still believe in solar going forward?
I believe so. The way that our pricing structure is there, I cannot see it going any other way. I think you need to make provision for savings, you need provision for your family, you need to make provision for yourself. I can't see it going any other way. It makes financial sense. Anything that makes financial sense must be worthwhile doing.
That is a very, very good quote that we can use. But speaking of quotes, any specific quotes that come to mind? Or will it all be Bible verses?
Typically, I think I've quoted the Bible enough, or hinted towards the Bible enough. Listen, you got to live today for today. Yes, you've got to plan for tomorrow. Yes, you've got to take retirement annuities. Yes, you've got to make sure that you commence. Just in case you do get, I've just been to my mum on the weekend. She turned 87 and still going strong. So you need to plan for that. Is it going to happen? Highly unlikely. Look, if you're looking at the stats, you still got to plan for it. But you've got to live for today. You've got to make sure that when you put your head down tonight to go to sleep, you've lived it. Mm. If you haven't, then that day is a waste. You'll never get it back again. It's gone.
Okay, final words of wisdom for any entrepreneur out there who, or not just even an entrepreneur, somebody considering leaving their current position to become an entrepreneur full-time. What would be your advice?
You need to believe in what you do. You know, if I tell my kids that you've been in school for 12 years, you get to work for 40, you better love what you do. That's a fact. So no good starting a business, you're not going to love what you do. If you listen to entrepreneurs, it's something that they love to do. I heard on the radio the other day, a lady is just making jewelry from stainless steel just because she's allergic to the platinums and the golds. But she loves it, and she's making a successful business out of it. But it's because there's love involved. So there's definitely things to do, but make sure that you love it. It's not just about money. Because when the money dries up, you've got to still love it. Otherwise, it'll be a problem. That's one thing. And the other thing that I learned from my business is don't make debt. So don't go because you go to a supplier, they're very quick to tell you 30 days, 60 days. Very, 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 very quick. They all want, because they want you to keep on buying from them. Because you've got a 30 or 60 day account, they've got you. You're not going to look around, you're not going to buy from somebody else. So when you want something, you pay them, you go and install it and resell it, or whatever the case may be, but don't have accounts. Don't have overdrafts. Don't have credit cards. Don't go and buy a new bakkie. Don't go and buy a new vacation home because you had a big order. Live within your means and make sure you've got a nest egg for bad times, because as an entrepreneur, they are coming. It's not all good and 100 and smell the roses and whatnot. So that, I would say, is work very frugal with your finances. And it's tough, because there's months that you've got, where's all this money coming from? Work frugal with it, because there will be tough months. And that, for me, is probably the most important part. Make sure your books are up to date. You need to know exactly where you're spending money, where you're losing money, where you're getting money, what are your margins like. And that you only do by having proper control and accounting.
That is very good advice. Yeah, thank you for that good advice. And Adriaan, thank you so much for your time. I really, really do appreciate the time and effort. I know you have lots of clients waiting for you, and your phone can't wait to be switched on again by the sound of it. So we're going to leave you, but thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
It's only a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And anybody out there that's starting a new business, they're more than welcome to contact me. They're more than welcome to come and shadow me and see what I do, and learn from it. I've got no hassles that I'd gladly plow back into the industry.
As always, your website address is nuecosolar.co.za.